Joined now by the pride of Oliver, British Columbia. He's the former executive producer of Hockey Night in Canada, the co-host of the Bob McCown podcast. Welcome back to John Shannon here on Sekeres and Price. How you doing, my friend?
I'm great, Matt. Hey, Blake, how are you? I'm glad to hear that you had some time in the old hometown. You know, the official wine capital of Canada. And for the record, I have not picked grapes in Oliver. I have been able to imbibe a bit in Oliver, and I got a couple of favorite little wineries up Road 3B, and life is pretty good.
Well, it was my first time at the District Wine Village in Oliver last Saturday, and wow, what a fantastic facility! What a fantastic concept, to have those different wineries and breweries, and surrounded by wading pools and fountains and things like that.
And we'll tell them to roll out the red carpet for you, because you're on your way, aren't you, for Hall of Fame weekend?
Yeah, I'm gonna get on an airplane on Wednesday and spend 4 or 5 days back home. Start at Predator Ridge and work my way south to Fairview Mountain. How's that?
Very well.
Very nice.
Well, you can't beat British Columbia at this time of year, so enjoy it, John.
Well, it's always good to come home.
Yeah. We have some big questions for you on the broadcast side. First of all these rumors swirling about the Hockey Night in Canada panel, and I think people looking at Rogers' takeover of Shaw and what that's going to mean for staffing levels across.
But the rumors are unfathomable in some cases, like Bieksa. Like, come on.
What do you?
Well, I tell you what. I feel awful, and I know that you think that I'm an insider on this stuff. These people are my friends. Every one of them. I mean, Jennifer Botterill lives around the corner from me. I see her. She's jogging. I'm walking every day, and I'm in shock. And for someone who has been publicly removed from my position multiple times, this is not a fun time to be in this business. This is not a fun time to be reading rumors and innuendo on a daily basis. And right now, I can only tell you that it's rumor and innuendo. And I feel terrible for all of those names. I feel terrible for the staff. What Rogers and Shaw are doing corporately is totally different than the human aspect of people in our industry. I don't have to tell you guys what it's like. I don't have to tell you guys when you get fired. When you get fired, how you walk down the street and people look at you like you have 6 heads. It is not fun. And I just I'm not a very emotional guy about things, but I'll tell you what, my heart breaks for these people right now. Whether it happens or not, what they're going through today is absolutely embarrassing. And I'm sorry that they're going through it.
It's funny, when we got canned, or when 1040 changed formats, I mean, hundreds of messages came in all different formats, and eventually, I got sick of reading the question, how are you holding up? I went, no one's died here. I'm holding up.
Wow.
Anyways, well put, John. Hey, tell me,
people
you
are
are
good
an insider
people.
on this.
These people are good people.
Yes, they are.
And anybody, and I'm so pissed off at Howard Berger for writing what he wrote, that there are some things that should be left private, and that should be left private.
Well, and if I can't imagine there's a shred of truth to it, because it just doesn't make any sense in a lot of cases. But if it is true, my goodness,
Blake,
I don't act soon.
Blake, I don't even want to go there. I honestly don't even want to go there.
Well. Yeah. So let me play devil's advocate reluctantly here and just say, when you do get a corporate merger of that side, and in today's media environment, is it appropriate to wonder whether changes are coming to your favorite television show, given what we have seen in this industry over the last 5 years?
Risk changes for sure. It's not the face of the show.
I can understand why people think that. I can understand why people worry that. And in this market, of course, John, particularly Kevin Bieksa, who's a beloved former Vancouver Canuck, and who is absolutely a natural on that panel. I mean, Kevin Bieksa is as good a studio analyst in a short period of time as I can recall in any sport.
Yeah.
No, Kevin's done a good job. Kevin has worked, and Kevin has huge potential. Kevin's I don't want Kevin to be mad at me, but Kevin has probably greater potential as a broadcaster than he did as a player. But that said, this is the dark side of social media, and to me it sickens me.
Yeah, also the dark side of what's happening in the media landscape these days. Let's get on to a better news story then. Vancouver Canucks color commentary for next season. Do you have any updates? Have you heard anything there, my friend?
I don't. I did talk to some people at Rogers last week, and they said they were very comfortable with where things are progressing. So who knows? Again, the secrecy of what has gone on and what's going on. I know that the Canucks brass are in marketing meetings at the NHL in Los Angeles next week. So that things are progressing. You've seen them hire people on the social media side. Everybody understands that and what the Canucks are doing. But I am told that sooner or later it will be in hand, and with that, those of us that care about these things shouldn't be too concerned with the outcome.
When did you usually like to have all this sort of stuff set, just to be at ease for the upcoming season? When was the drop dead date? Could you go right to September 15th with negotiations, or did you like this done by Labor Day?
What you did was, for the most part, you hoped that everybody was put in place by the time you decided to take that 5-day trip to Penticton. What happens, Blake, the Stanley Cup playoffs are a 60-day journey. You add the draft to that, you add free agency to that, you're exhausted. But you owe it to your staff, you owe it to your people in order to get everything done and put in place so they can actually enjoy the summer,
to get a little work out of the way. That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, get work out of the way and then take time off. So you wanted everything done by the 15th of July, which is about right now. Get everything done, then take a couple weeks, and then come back August 15th and get right back into it, and create your conversations
Dot the I's
with
and
the
cross
leagues.
the T's. Then,
but everybody, but so that, and from a personal perspective, and you guys have lived this, from a personal perspective, when you hire somebody, their husband or their wife doesn't turn and say, "What are we doing next year? Do you have a job?" And you put those put those fears in place. You get rid of those, and then you're in a much better shape to have a quite an enjoyable summer.
Do those questions happen, John? I wasn't aware of those sort of conversations. I've never had those before.
All I know is there used to be an environment where you had multi-year security, which seems to be another.
That is.
But look at it this way, guys. Between the show that you do and the show that I do on a regular basis, we don't have to worry about really having bosses anymore. And there is an upside to that. There is, the organizational chart is pretty flat where I work now, and it's kind of fun.
Yeah. The problem, John, is that there's only one or two people to blame, and they're in the mirror.
Or if you read social media,
more work.
Or if you read social media, man, that was an awful interview you did yesterday.
Oh, sure. I'm daily, buddy, daily. I was talking to someone recently who's sort of newer to the public eye in social media and just couldn't believe what was going on. And I said, we've lived this for some time now.
This is the wild, wild west, man. It is the wild, wild west.
Yeah. Let me ask you about today's NHL topic du jour. Tony DeAngelo, he's no longer being traded back to the Carolina Hurricanes as we suspected from Philadelphia. They've put him on waivers, and it looks like this is going to a buyout. Know anything about how this came off the rails?
No, although what I would say is that I think that what we're seeing now in Philadelphia, because I have a tremendous amount of respect for Danny Briere and Keith Jones, is I think we're steep into a learning curve, And we're saying, who wants to be a Philadelphia Flyer? Is there an image to be a Philadelphia Flyer? Does he fit into what we want? Does he fit into what John Tortorella wants as a coach? And I think that's I think that, when you look at what buyouts and numbers are, I mean, look what Arizona did yesterday with Alex Galchenyuk when they realized the issues that he had off ice and driving his car in Scottsdale, and they thought they should cut their losses quickly. That's what has to happen, I think, in this day and age, particularly with that infamous flat cap that we're dealing with for at least one more year.
Does D'Angelo get picked up pretty quickly, though? I mean, as much as he's an interesting, and that's putting it politely, cat off the ice, he's a heck of a hockey player. Is it going to be too tantalizing for people to turn away from?
There'll be somebody. Yep. The question is will there be a bidding war? Will they end up having some leverage and finding a place that actually says that here's what we need and here's what we want? It's a strange time right now on so many different levels for a guy like Tony, who, you're right. I mean, I remember him playing in Sault Ste. Marie, and what a talent he was way back then, and what he does with the puck. And it goes back to that social media world. If we didn't know what he was like as a social median, anyway, we didn't know what he was. I think that there would be a lot of people saying, well, he's a good hockey player, and he can help a team, and he can certainly help a power play. There'll be somebody will need him and pick him up, and there'll also be that magical. But Blake, there'll be a couple of guys that say that we can fix him. We can make him better. And that's always the case.
The other thing, John, he's that magical position, that right shot defenseman. I mean, if he was anything else, if he was a left winger, I think he has a lot harder, time latching on. He's the unicorn. So
that's
somebody's going to take a chance on him for sure.
Yep, you're right.
Erik Karlsson is certainly the big name out there, but there are others as well, and most notably, we've seen both Calgary and Winnipeg make a big trade, Toffoli in Calgary's case and Dubois in Winnipeg's case, but there was a pretty long list of names on both organizations that are apparently on the block here. Do you believe the Flames and Jets are done here? Are you at all surprised that we haven't heard more from these Western Canadian franchises by mid-July here?
I think, by the way, I think we're seeing, and don't laugh at this, I think we're seeing right now, as we speak, a little bit of COVID hangover. And when I say COVID hangover, I think people have had to take a step back. And I'm talking about managers and coaches and people in front offices say, you know what, we just need a break. We've been going for how many years now? And, the things that we've had to manage, we just need to get away from it now for a couple of weeks. So I expect things to accelerate probably around the 1st of August. And things get done around 1st of August once we get through arbitration. And, all the guys you're talking about, they're still under contract. They're gonna be invited to camp whether they get traded or not. Connor Hellebuck is going to be a Winnipeg Jet until the Jets decide he's not a Winnipeg Jet. So with Mark Scheifele. Same thing with Elias Lindholm in Calgary. So I think that there's urgency for an agent. I think there's urgency perhaps for a player, but there's no urgency for the team because they can trade him anytime they want, whether it be the summer, whether it be the start of the season, whether it be until March, or they could do something really outrageous and run the risk of losing him if after a season of his last year of his contract. So I don't think that Kevin Cheveldayoff and Craig Conroy are in that urgent moment right now. And I think they're just taking time because they don't like what they're hearing back from teams. So they'll play it out and see what happens.
Does the same apply to Conroy in Calgary that applies to Jones and Briere in Philadelphia? The learning curve and feeling their way through the new job?
Well, Craig's been in that organization now for 8 or 9 years. Craig's been sitting at the right knee of Brad Treliving for a long period of time. I think he's been much more active in the management of that hockey club than Keith, who, again, good friend, but has been in the broadcast booth and has looked back at hockey ops. Danny Briere has learned the job, but I think that they're not nearly as advanced, in my opinion. And I think they're great people and will do a good job, but they're not as far advanced as Craig Conroy and his knowledge of what to do with his organization.
Lastly, John, we introduced you as the co-host of the Bob McCowan podcast. In recent weeks, it's been the host of the Bob McCowan podcast. Pleased to see you continue, but of course, our big concern is for Bob himself. How's he doing these days?
First of all, nobody wants Bob McCowan to host the Bob McCown podcast more than me. Because, I mean, we're still doing it. We're contractually obligated to do it. We've been able to have some solid guests and some solid co-hosts, including a couple of legends, guys like Dave Hodge, who hosted for a week. But Bob is home now after 17 or 18 days in hospital. He has been rehabbing in hospital in Mississauga. But it's going to be a struggle, and he's improving, but it's slow. And Bob, you guys both know Bob. Patience is not necessarily a word in his vocabulary, and Bob is going to have to be patient, and he can't cheat the therapy. And our hope is he's back a lot sooner than people expect. His voice has come back. He's starting to walk a little bit better. He's certainly pointed in the right direction. And by the way, anybody who the outpouring, I think he's been flabbergasted with the outpouring of support. And I can't speak for him, but I know that it's been a real thrill for him that people have said that they miss him and love him and want him back.
Yeah, Bob in Toronto, Dan Russell out here, the two godfathers, I think you could say, of sports talk in Canada. Give him our best. I sent him a note. I said, hurry back. Shannon needs you. So,
I sent that note too.
John, thanks for this. Have a marvelous weekend. We'll catch up next week when you're here in our province.
I'll probably be in about the 14th hole at Fairview when you call.
Right.
Me. Yeah.
It will be a beautiful view for our YouTube watchers.
And by the way, the ball always breaks to the valley.
It does. You learn that quickly at Fairview.
Cheers.
Tackle all the hills with ease and don't arrive at work all sweaty. Get around the city on electric transportation that fits your lifestyle and get it. BestBuy.ca.